Hi everybody, in this video I am going to show you how to create multiple widgets, how to organize them, how to set the space between the objects, and finally how to set the margins, which is the space between the objects and the container. So get ready and let's start. First thing we need is to create a main window. If you would like to get more details of these lines, click the link below and watch the video, and then you can return back to this video. And if you would like to continue, as you like. And now let's continue our example by running the application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, it's just an empty main window. After creating the main window, we have to create a subclass of a widget, which is going to be used. As shown, here is my subclass of a QWidget class, which also allows you to choose the background color of the widget. And you can use any other type of widgets such as QLabel, QPushButton, and there are a lot of widgets can be used. And now let's try to create a single object of our subclass. In order to do that, first we have to import our subclass. Type from color widget import color widget. Then scroll down, type. Let's give our object a name such as widget. Widget equal color widget. Suppose we want the background color of this object to be orange. Then we add it into the main window. To do so, type self dot set central widget. Then we pass the name of our object. And now let's try to run our application. As you see here, the main window filled with a single object of our subclass. And now let's move to the next section, which talking about how to create multiple widgets and how to organize them. Qt6 provides 4 ways to arrange the objects. We can arrange our objects vertically, horizontally, in a grid manner where all cells equal sized, and finally stacked, where only the first object appears on the top. I will show you how to set another object to appear on the top. And now let's start with the vertical way to arrange our objects. First we have to create a main container. Then we have to create an object of a vertical layout, which is going to be used to set the layout of the main container. Then we populate the layout with widgets, as we like. And finally, we pass our layout to the main container to set the layout of the main container. In order to do these steps, we have to import the QWidget and the QVBox layout classes. QWidget, QVBox layout. And then we create an object layout equal QVBox layout. And now we can start adding objects into our layout. Layout dot add widget, color, widget. Suppose we want the background color of this object to be red, and the second object to be green, and the third one to be blue. And finally, we have to set the layout of the main container. In order to do that, we have to insert the following line under the creation of the main container object. So we type widget dot set layout, and then we pass layout or the name of the layout object. Make sure that the main container has been created. QWidget. And now let's try to run our application. As you see here, all objects arranged vertically. And now, what if you want to arrange our objects horizontally? In order to do that, we just have to replace the capital V with a capital H as follows. And now let's try to run the application to see how does it look like. As you see here, all objects now arranged horizontally. And now I will show you how to set the space between the objects. To set the space between the objects, first we have to type layout dot set spacing. Suppose we want the space between the objects, let's say, to be 20 pixels. And now let's try to run the application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, the space between the objects is 20 pixels. And now I will show you how to set the margins, which is the space between the objects and the main container. In order to do that, first we type layout dot set contents margins. Suppose we want the space from the left side to be 50 pixels and from top to be 100 pixels and from the right also to be 50 pixels and from bottom to be 30 pixels. And now let's try to run the application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, the space from the left side is 50 pixels and from top is 100 pixels and from right is 50 pixels and finally from bottom 30 pixels, and the space between the objects still 20 pixels. But what if you want to create a layout consist of 3 columns? The first column consists of 3 objects arranged vertically, the second column consists of a single object, and the third column consists of 2 objects and also arranged vertically, as shown on the screen. Let's delete all these lines first. Make sure that the QVBox layout has been imported. As a first step here, we have to create a layout for the main container, and don't forget to make sure that the QHBox layout has been imported, because as I said, it consists of 3 columns, so it should be related to the QHBox layout. Layout 1 equal QH box layout. Then we type layout two equal QV because the objects will be arranged vertically. The next object will be for the third column. As I said, the third column consists of 2 objects arranged vertically. Layout 3 QVBox layout. And now let's start with the first column. Layout 2, because as I said, the objects in the first column arranged vertically, so we use the QVBox layout. Dot. Then we start adding objects into the layout. Color, widget. Suppose we want the background color of this object to be red. And the second object to be green. And the third object to be blue. Then we add this layout into the main container's layout, namely layout 1. Layout 1 dot add layout 2. Then let's move to the next column. The second column consists of a single object, so no need to create a layout object. We can add the object directly into the main container layout as a widget instead of adding it as a layout. In order to do that, type layout 1 dot add widget color widget. Suppose we want the background color of this object to be black. And now let's move to the last column, which consists of 2 objects. To complete this mission, first we have to create a vertical layout and add into it 2 objects. So we type layout 3 dot add widget color widget. Suppose we want the background color of this object to be purple. And the second object to be yellow. And finally, we add this layout into the main layout, which is layout 1. So we type layout 1 dot add layout 3. And now we set the layout of the main container by passing layout 1. As I said, layout 1 should be the layout of the main container. And now let's try to run the application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, the layout consists of 3 columns. The first column consists of 3 objects arranged vertically, and the second column consists of a single object, and the third column consists of 2 objects and also arranged vertically. And now let's try the grid layout. But first we have to delete these lines. And here we have to set the name of the class. And now first thing we have to do is to import the grid layout class. So we type QGrid layout, and this we don't need it. And then we create an object of the grid layout. So we type layout equal QGrid layout and use the same technique. So we start adding objects into our grid layout. And widget color, suppose we want the background color of our first object to be red. And don't forget to pass the row and the column of the object. So suppose we want this object to be in the first row and the first column. Suppose we want the second object to be green, and we would like to put this object, let's say, in the second row and in the second column. And for the third object, let's say we would like the background color to be blue. And we would like to put this object, let's say, in the third row and in the third column. And now let's try to run the application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, the size of all objects identical, and the cells which we didn't add into it any object still empty. And now let's try the stacked layout. First we have to remove these lines. And at the top, first thing we have to do is to import the stacked layout. So we type here stacked layout. Layout equal Q stacked layout. Then we start adding objects into this layout. So we type layout dot add widget color widget. Suppose we want the first one to be red, and the second one to be green, and the third one to be blue. And now let's try to run our application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, the first object appears on the top. Suppose we want the second object to be on the top. How can we bring the second object to the top? In order to do that, there are two methods can be used to set which object to be on the top. The first one by passing the index of the object, and the second one by passing the name of the object. So first type layout dot set current widget if you want to pass the name of the object, or current index if you would like to pass the index of the object. I think this method is easier than passing the name of the object. Suppose we want the second object to be on the top, therefore we pass 1. And now let's try to run our application to see how it's going to be. As you see here, the second object has been on the top. And thank you for watching my video. Please, if my video got your admiration, don't forget to click like and subscribe to notify you for any new videos. And thank you for watching my video again.